Ang guest natin ay co-teacher ko sa Ateneo at siya ay si Mary Grace Santos. Siya ang founder and isa sa mga founders and executive director ng Universities and Research Council's Network on Innovation for Inclusive Development in Southeast Asia. O, diba? Sang kapal lugar dyan. Consultant din siya sa Asian Development Bank at siya din ay, gaya ng sabi ko, nagtuturo sa Ateneo de Manila University at nagtapos din sa Ateneo. Yan ang ating guest ngayong gabi. So, tawagin na natin siya. Welcome, Miss Grace. Kamusta?
Hello, Vince. Good evening. Good evening sa inyong lahat.
Oo. So, nasaan ka ngayon? Nasa bahay? Saang parte
Yes,
ng Pilipinas?
dito sa Bulacan. I've been here since the start of the ACQ ng March. So, hindi na ako nakaluwas, di ba? But of course, syempre, kailangan din natin i-consider yung, of course, yung health protocols. Kaya, stay put, stay at home para we're all safe.
Correct. Okay. So, didiretso na ako, Grace, ha? Pag-usapan naman natin itong inclusive business. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng inclusive business?
Correct. I guess in a nutshell, ang inclusive business ay isang modelo, no, ay pamamaraan ng pagbuo ng isang negosyo, pero ang distinguishing feature nitong inclusive business ay ito ay targeted para dun sa mga low-income segments of our population. So basically, ang inclusive business ngayon, base dun sa formal na definition na binuo internationally, this is the standard definition of inclusive business. Ito ay isang pamaraan ng papatakbo ng business na ang gumagawa nito ay medium and large scale enterprises or businesses. So basically, these are your corporates, these are your MNCs, multinational corporations, who are providing specific goods, services, and also income-generating opportunities para sa base of the pyramid, base of the economic pyramid. So basically, yun nga, no, very targeted itong business na to para doon sa mga low-income segment. So for example, dito sa Pilipinas, pag sinabi nating low-income segment, ito yung mga nasa ang parang poor income cluster. So these are the people na nasa below the official poverty threshold, which is currently at 10,000 households with the monthly income of 10,400 pesos. So ito yung specific target nito.
So parang kung baga ay kung titignan mo ay kung ikaw ay below minimum wage.
Yes.
No? Kasi 10,000 pesos ay yan yung parang minimum natin, mga napapalo ng halos 11. So kung mga nandun ka below, then yan ay mako-consider na poor. Tama?
Yes.
Oo. Ilang porsyento ba yan?
Ito yung BOP, no? Yung base of the pyramid. Yes? Go ahead. Can you repeat that?
Ilang porsyento yung mga mahihirap na yan sa Pilipinas?
Well, actually, because of this pandemic, no, mukhang lumaki itong mga, may mga nag-slide down, for example, in terms of yung income segments. But I think dun sa last survey natin, mga naglalaro yan between like 18 to 20% of our population dito sa Philippines. So, at ngayon, yun nga, no, dahil dito sa COVID at dahil meron tayong economic recession ngayon, no, we expect that in the following upcoming surveys, makikita natin marami yung mga nag-slide down sa income cluster. So we expect na medyo lalaki pa itong mga bumaba dito sa segment na ito.
Oo. Kasi nga itong balita kong napapakinggan nga ngayon, di ba, 45% yung nawalan daw ng trabaho according to SWS. Pero nabanggit mo, ito ay ginagawa ng mga medium and large enterprises. So I'm showing this table to you now and to our viewers. Ito yung nagpapakita ng ng mga sizes of enterprises dito sa Pilipinas. So yung medium and large ay mga nasa halos 10,000 lang pala, no, in terms of number. So sila yung binabanggit natin na gumagawa ng inclusive
Inclusive business. Yes, sila yung kumbaga itong inclusive business agenda, sila yung target. So it's actually we're trying to actually shift the business thinking of these big businesses to cater to this new segments, these lower income segments of the population. Para na rin makatulong no sa sa socio-economic development, for example, nitong mga segments na to.
Oo. Tapos, base dito sa sizes, ito kasi yung sa DTI, except for the last one, no? Ang dinagdag actually ng SEDPI, itong tinatawag naming nano enterprises. And I'd like to know your thoughts on this one. So, ito yung characteristics ng nano enterprises na hindi kasi siya nabibilang doon sa classification ng gobyerno sa DTI, sa SEC, sa CDA, para siyang nilalamp siya agad sa micro, pero ibang-iba kasi yung characteristics ng micro sa nano enterprises. So, ito ay karaniwang mga unregistered businesses at ng mga self-employed individuals na typically ino-operate nila yung business nila mag-isa o kasama yung unpaid family members. At hirap na hirap silang mag-produce ng identification, kaya hindi sila makakuha ng kanilang basic services sa SSS, sa Pag-IBIG, no? At saka hindi din sila nakaka-access sa formal financial sources. So they are very vulnerable to predatory pricing. Some of them even pay as much as the highest that I've heard is 10% per day. Can you imagine?
Wow.
10% per day. And they need about 3,000 to 20,000 lang to finance their business. At mga examples nito, mga sari-sari stores, karinderya, na vendors ng banana Q, isaw, taho, mga ganyan. So you think this is a worthwhile classification to aid our government?
Yes, oo, definitely. Kasi even, for example, halimbawa lang, dun sa inclusive business agenda, when we talk about the BOP, the base of the pyramid, ito rin yung predominantly, ito yung mga types of businesses, itong mga nano enterprise, especially here in the Philippines, na meron tayo. So if, for example, our businesses, our corporates here in the Philippines would want to work at the BOP, ito yung mga tipo ng enterprises din na makikita nila sa baba. And it would be worthwhile for them as well to design, for example, business models that can effectively engage these unregistered nano enterprises. Like, meron ng mga existing businesses, for example, who are helping facilitate yung, for example, organization of these small enterprises para it would be easier to engage with them. Halimbawa, yung mga groups of, for example, mga co-ops, for example, o kaya they organize mga farmers into organizations para they can source more effectively, hindi lang sa isa-isang farmer, kundi sa isang grupo ng farmers, right? So yes, definitely this is something that would be worthwhile for government and even for inclusive businesses to take note of.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Tapos, ano ba yung mga models na po pwedeng pasukin sa inclusive business? Ano yung pwedeng gawin ng mga medium and large enterprises para sa mga bottom of the pyramid?
Correct. So yun nga, actually, ang inclusive business would give different, kumbaga parang opportunities for engagement dito sa mga nasa low-income segment. So basically, for example, a company who is developing or who's piloting an inclusive business model can engage them as either as producers or suppliers. Like, for example, mga farmers na magsusupply ng raw materials, for example, or inputs to a company. They can also engage them dun sa pag-deliver, so the delivery mechanism ng company as distributors, for example. So, for example, yung mga sari-sari stores natin, halimbawa, existing na, for example, yung mga model ng Smart, for example, na they engage these mga sari-sari stores for the load, for example, yung ng prepaid load, pag-distribute ng prepaid load. Of course, ang isang primary, for example, engagement na tinitignan din ay can they be employed directly by the company? Can they be hired as employees of the company? Isa rin yun na pwedeng gawin. And then of course, yung last engagement is actually as customers or clients. So kung di man sila parte ng value chain ng isang company, pwede naman mag-design ang isang kumpanya ng mga very targeted goods and services that can be affordable and accessible dito sa mga income segments na ito.
Oo. Okay, so nabanggit mo yung SMART kanina, no, na parang meron siyang strategy in terms of inclusive business kasi mga maliliit yung ine-engage na, no, mga usually may iba nga alam ko mga sari-sari stores yung SMART padala nila ganyan.
Yes,
yung mga nagbebenta ng mga load, 'di ba? Mga maliliit na mga sari-sari stores meron. Pero so in a sense, it makes business sense for the medium and large company. But at the same time, nakakatulong sa mga mahihirap. Ano? Meron ka pa bang mga ibang examples tulad nito?
Yes. So actually, dito sa Philippines, yun nga, hindi naman ito yung sobrang bago, no? So meron ng mga companies dito sa Pilipinas who are actually doing inclusive business. Like for example, ito yung 4 na makikita nyo dun sa mga case studies. There are actually existing case studies of Philippine models for inclusive business. Like for example, itong Kennemer Foods, they are a company in Mindanao that are engaging cacao farmers. Dahil sinusupplyan nila ng cacao, yung mga big, for example, chocolate manufacturers like Mars abroad, sila yung nagsusupply ng chocolates, ng cacao for their chocolates. So ang ginagawa nila is they're engaging the farmers as cacao doctors. So tinitrain nila yung mga farmers mismo para sila yung magpalago, for example, or to grow these more viable like seeds, for example, cacao seeds. Sila rin yung nag-organize sa kanilang mga sarili to actually pull together yung kanilang harvest para isusupply nila, for example, sa Kennemer. And then, of course, yung isa sa pinaka sikat, no, and ito yung mga unang cases ng inclusive business sa Philippines, yung Nestle, yung sa kanilang coffee, yung 3-in-1 coffee production nila. So yung Arabica and coffee production, ganun din. They're engaging farmers, our local farmers, sa kanilang value chain sa pag-produce ng coffee. So yung input sa 3-in-1 coffee nila yon locally sourced, and then meron din silang model na in one town in Ilocos Sur, so they're engaging the local government. So nakikipag-partner din sila sa local governments para to organize the farmers and to also help the farmers produce coffee. And then, ito yung Generica drugstore naman, malamang ito, kilala nyo to, nakikita nyo to sa natin, no? Na ito yung mga nagsusupply ng mga generic medicines natin, Generica drugstore. Actually, Generica won the Inclusive Business Award in 2017. So, sila ngayon ay, yun nga, no, they're supplying these low-cost generic medicines na mas affordable sa nakararami. And right now, they also have partnered with Ayala Health. So, meron na silang mga stores, parang concept stores na meron ng family doc clinics. So, pwede rin pumunta doon para magkonsulta. For example, libreng konsulta and also mas murang lab test. They can do cheaper lab test. And then, yung dun sa last example naman natin, yung sa Ayala Sedalio Hotel nila. So, this is a new hotel in Palawan. Actually, under medyo under construction. I'm not sure if they already opened. Pero ang model naman nila is yon. So they will be employing locals in Palawan to as part of the staff of the hotel, and they will also source products from yung local artisans na ibebenta nila dun sa hotels. So yon. So pag nakita nyo, di ba, meron na makikita mo na companies are already thinking about these models, and they are trying to actually implement this in different parts of the country. So yun, so we're actually very happy to see na, kumbaga, may mga companies na gumagawa.
Right. So ang ganda ng mga examples kasi as producers, as employees, and then nagpo-produce naman ng products para sa base of the pyramid. So yun yung nakita natin. Pero ano ba yun? Kunwari, meron ba tayong measure na dapat a certain percentage of your business yung nagagawa mo for inclusive business bago ka masabi na inclusive talaga? Kasi baka naman, 1% lang yan ng kabuuang business nila, di ba?
Correct, oo. So actually, yun nga no, yung ang ano ngayon, ang BOI, Board of Investments, is actually at the forefront of inclusive business promotion dito sa Philippines. So basically, the BOI, the Board of Investments, have actually set very specific criteria. Na halimbawa, for example, ang isang business, for example, should be engaging 20% of its, for example, of its staff ay galing dito sa BOP segment. So parang may ganun, no? Kaya halimbawa, kung gusto mo naman to engage them as producers, dapat meron ding a certain percentage na increase sa kanilang, for example, income. So at least 20% ng kanilang income pag from a baseline na pag sila mas engage hanggang dun sa ma-implement mo yung model, dapat around 20% increase in income yung makuha nila. So our government, the BOI, has already started crafting these criteria to guide companies na dapat ganito, no? Meron tayong standard na ito yung dapat yung ma-meet for you to be labeled or registered as an inclusive business.
Correct. So yun nga yung pinag-uusapan mo ngayon, no? Ito yung ating DTI, Board of Investments, Inclusive Business Registration and Incentives. So ano ba yung mga incentives na binibigay ng Board of Investments para sa kanila?
Correct. Well, right now, ang incentive primarily na binibigay ng BOI sa mga companies na magre-register as inclusive business ay income tax holidays. So, so that means, halimbawa, pag na-register ka as an inclusive business with the BOI, so they will give you 5 years. So you should develop a 5-year plan, an inclusive business plan. Tapos you implement it within 5 years, and then the BOI will evaluate your performance. So again, kailangan ma-meet mo yung criteria, no? Very specific criteria na sinet ng BOI. So pag within 5 years, ma-meet mo yung criteria, they will grant you the tax incentive, yung tax holiday. Tapos, pag na-meet mo yon, if you're high-performing inclusive business, bibigyan ka pa nila ng extra year. So parang +1, 5+1 year na tax holiday. So yun yung ngayon yung existing, no? But in the future, dahil meron tayong, for example, meron tayong inclusive business bill, no, na pinapromote, meron pang maidadagdag na incentives na pwedeng ibigay dito sa mga companies na to who will be engaging in inclusive business.
Right, okay. So kunwari ako ay mayroong medium actually ito yung nakakalito kasi sa SEDPI. Si SEDPI ay in terms of asset size, classified siya as large. Pero in terms of employees, classified siya as small. So, ano yung sinusunod ng BOI?
Correct. Well, actually, I think mas more yung sa asset and yung sa income. Mas mukhang aanahin nila yon. So, I don't think yung magma-matter yung number of employees, but as long as your asset size and your yung income ng kumpanya, it meets yung large to medium to large na enterprise. Yun yung I think it will be classified as a larger medium enterprise.
Kasi yung sa atin, we provide financial services and social welfare protection programs sa bottom of the pyramid sa Agusan. Ang difference kasi namin, we are a private enterprise, and yung mga iba naming mga contemporaries na microfinance institutions are cooperatives or microfinance NGOs na may mga tax holidays na, may mga tax benefits na talaga sila. So this is one way na po pwede pala kaming magpa-tax free. Pero nako, ngayong pandemic naman talagang mukhang wala kaming kikitain. So baka next year na to i-apply para para may matax, 'di ba?
Tama,
So
tama.
oo. Pero nakakaaliw lang, sandali lang kasi first time ako na may bumati sa atin from Moscow siya na nanonood. So hello sa iyo, Luella, at sana
Wow,
nag-enjoy ka
congrats,
sa sa pakikinig sa atin. Tapos Grace, etong sa natin. So ano yung plano ng gobyerno natin ano yung roadmap niya for inclusive business? I mean, government
Correct.
lang ba to in the private sector?
Correct, oo. Well, actually, it's actually a private sector-led agenda, no? So, nauna ang private sector to actually talk about and start designing businesses around the inclusive business model. So, for example, way back in around 2000, mga 2008 pa yata, no? Pinag-uusapan na ito ng mga business associations natin like the PBSP, LCF, they're already talking about BOP business, base of the pyramid business. So, matagal-tagal na, no? Matagal-tagal na yung usapan. Yun nga lang, at some point, di ba, although the companies can do it themselves, it would help if, for example, the legal and regulatory environment here in the Philippines would also, be supportive of inclusive business. Kaya nagsimula yan noong mga 2015. Yon. So nagsimula ng mapansin, no, ng government, ng Philippine government, ito inclusive business. And meron ng mga initiatives noon to actually pass a bill. Actually, merong draft na ng bill before, ng 2015, na pinasa si former Senator Bam Aquino. Pinasa niya sa Senate, pero hindi lang na-approve. So hanggang ngayon, merong current updated version itong bill. So ipapasa pa lang siya sa Congress at sa Senate, and hopefully maipasa na siya. Ngayon. So yun. So apart from the bill, yung parang legal framework for inclusive business, ang Philippine government then is actually, yun nga, kagaya nung na-mention ko kanina, to promote inclusive business, they want to enable parang companies, no, also to do inclusive business. So ito, ang BOI, Board of Investments, has this inclusive business program na nagre-register ng inclusive business. They're granting tax holidays for inclusive businesses. And then they're also working with DTI, mga regional offices ng DTI, to actually find these inclusive businesses operating in the different regions of our country. Para rin madaling hanapin, for example, sabihan to mga kumpanya na, mag-register ka naman sa amin for you to get the incentive, no? Oo. So yon. So basically, nandun pa lang tayo dun sa level na yon, but eventually, the government wants to also harness yung whole of government approach to supporting inclusive business. So ibig sabihin nun, hindi lang DTI, hindi lang BOI yung susuporta sa inclusive business, pero pati ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, like for example, the DSWD, the DILG, especially yung mga mga welfare agencies na tumutulong dito sa mga mahihirap, or dito sa mga nag-ooperate dito sa base of the pyramid, or extending support programs to the base of the pyramid. Of course, matutulungan din. Parang kumbaga ito yung a contribution of government would be for yung social preparation for our local communities to be ready to engage with these large companies pagdating sa inclusive business.
Pero ano naman yung mga challenges na nakikita mo from the medium and large enterprises side to adopt the inclusive business model?
Correct. Well, basically, ngayon, no, ang isang barrier talaga sa kanila, for example, is yung readiness, yung kahandaan. Kaya nga na-mention ko yung social preparation, no? There are a lot of companies, for example, ang BOI sinabi sa amin, because I've been engaged as a consultant din ng BOI. So sinasabi nila sa amin na maraming mga companies na nagsasabi sa amin, ready kami to expand our business lines, for example, na magkaroon, for example, ng BOP engagement, for example, ang business line. Kaso, ang problema lang nila is wala silang mahanap na, for example, ang mga malalaking kumpanya kasi, minsan ang requirement nila pag sinabi mong I will source, for example, mga tone-toneladang, for example, vegetables, ganyan.
Oo,
O kaya,
walang
o kaya,
mahana.
oo, o kaya parang ilang thousands of, for example, poultry. Eh pag mga small businesses, sabi mo ay yung mga nano like enterprises na yung sa baba, hindi nila ma-meet yung parang sourcing requirement nitong malalaking kumpanya. So yun yung isang hurdle, no, na sinasabi nga natin na parang how can, for example, government assist then into, yun nga, yung parang organization of these small enterprises into groups, for example, mga co-ops or associations na can be like formally registered entities na pwedeng formally engaged by these businesses. Tapos yun nga,
Correct.
isa pa rin, yes, go ahead, Vince.
Kasi yung isa nga na may mga estudyante, oh my God, ito na lumalabas na ang katandaan ko. May mga estudyante ako na sila na yung purchasing head, for example, ng mga large companies. I remember meron ata yan sa Nestle din, meron sa Mont Nissin, ganyan. At ang sinasumbong nila sa akin, sinasabi nila, sir, gusto talaga namin, kasi yan nga yung natutunan sa Ateneo, di ba, na local economic development, ganyan. Pero for example, order kami ng sili, isang toneladang sili, wala namang makapag-produce ng mga ganyang, so nag-i-import daw sila, kaya ang lungkot.
Correct, oo. So yun din, no? So makikita mo, actually, yun nga medyo kabit-kabit, dyan lumalabas din yung issue natin pagdating sa, for example, yung sa agri-development, local agricultural development, right? So ibig sabihin, apektado yan, no? Kung sakaling hirap yung mga farmers natin to actually, produce like quality. Tapos yun pa, no? Hindi lang yung quantity yung kailangan nilang ma-meet, yung quality rin na requirement, for example, ng isang company, malaking kumpanya, isa pa ring issue yon na kinaharap nila. Tapos, syempre, ang isa pang, major, like, for example, concern din, for example, ng businesses, is yun din, no, yung the business regulatory environment. So, parang yung ease of doing business. So, for example, yun nga, yung kakayahan o kapasidad ng, halimbawa, local governments to actually make, for example, yung business environment sa ating mga regions to be more like, for example, hospitable, or to make it easy for these companies to actually get permits, or for example, yun nga, register locally. So yun din, so isa rin yun na kailangan natin pagtuunan ng pansin eventually, para mapaayos, no, o mapabilis din yung pag-develop, pag-roll out ng inclusive business.
Correct. Okay. Sige. So, ito na yung last question ko siguro. So, ano yung mga opportunities? So, a lot of our listeners are overseas Filipino workers. Marami din mga nanonood sa atin na, I think, mga nano enterprises and mga employees. So, ano yung mga pwedeng opportunities that could arise from inclusive business?
Correcto. Well, siguro, initially, no, I mean, to be true to the inclusive business, for example, to the core idea of inclusive business na talagang BOP engagement. So para dun sa mga natin, no, even the small enterprises, yun nga, they should be able to start thinking of how they can effectively engage or cater to, for example, the needs of, halimbawa, yung mga mga kapitbahay, or ano mo yun, para rin, yun nga, magkaroon ng mas maraming choices. Kasi at some point, di ba, ngayon, ito yung isang limited, kumbaga parang ito yung isang reklamo rin ng mga tao, no? Dahil, halimbawa, kung mahirap ka, syempre, limited yung choice mo at access mo to goods and services. So, for example, if even our small enterprises would design, for example, specific price points na very affordable, or goods na easily accessible para sa ganitong yung mga mahihirap. At some point, this is actually a new business line, and kikita sila kasi sa totoo lang, this is an untapped it's an untapped segment na willing naman silang magbayad and to pay for these goods and services. It's just that wala silang choice or wala silang mahanap na affordable and accessible for them. So
Correct.
yun, so if we can design these specific goods and services, it would be a big help. And then also, yun nga eh, ngayon kasi isang requirement lang no, to engage with big businesses is you have to be a formal business entity. So that means you have to register,
Oo.
magre-register ka sa SEC, magre-register ka for example sa DTI, ganyan. So
Oo.
parang kailangan, di ba, simulan natin yung ganung proseso kasi it would mapapabilis if you want to engage with these bigger corporations. And when they open up, for example, when they open up opportunities for engaging small enterprises or small entrepreneurs, once you're registered and once you're a legal entity, that's your kumbaga, entry point. That's your first step
Correct.
towards engaging. And
Oo.
yun, syempre at some point you have to have your sustainability like yung plan. So how to, kasi 'di ba eventually then itong mga big companies na to, they would want na ang i-engage nila ay yung meron ng pathway to growth. So ano yung vision mo to actually expand, for example, later on, or ano yung mga business innovations na gusto mong i-introduce for you to be able to offer your goods or services more effectively. So yun din. So I mean, I guess it's the basic advice that I can give to yung mga nakikinig natin na micro entrepreneurs or small entrepreneurs.
Kaya very important talaga yung governance dito kasi
Yes.
ang magiging epekto nito ay yung ease of doing business, 'di ba?
Yes.
Tanggalin ng red tape, tanggalin ng corruption, mga ganyan.
Correct.
So kabit-kabit talaga. So thank you very much, Grace, at pinaunlakan mo kami sa aming imbitasyon sa iyo ngayong gabi, at sana ay talagang na tayo matapos na ang COVID na to, at nang makapunta na tayo sa Ateneo at makapagturo.
Tama. At yun at some point makita mo rin, no? I mean, I think this is also the right time to actually start promoting more inclusive businesses, lalo na dito sa situation natin. We're in a recession at ang maraming mga taong nangailangan ng trabaho or pagkakakitaan. If we have our local businesses, if they think more inclusively, and then they will hire local, they will expand their business lines sa baba, then I think makakatulong yun sa atin, and we will easily recover afterwards if we just adopt, for example, more inclusive business thinking.
Correct. It just entered my mind, no? Kasi noong weekend, I was thinking, kasi meron kaming Facebook ads na budget. Tapos 'di ba ang dami-daming mga kontrobersiya ngayon sa Facebook dahil sa mga fake news, ganyan. So tumigil kami sa pag-Facebook ads. Pero the reality is kailangan talaga naming mag-push ng ads. So I posted in my social media dito sa ating sa Facebook, Vince Rapisura, no. At ang sabi ko, may budget kami for Facebook ads, pero okay kaya ito na gamitin na pera instead na sa Facebook ibinabayad, babayad tayo ng mga convincers who will promote the videos, who will promote the So parang during the time na naka-lockdown tayo, ay at least may kumikita pa rin. Is this medyo na ba to? Is this an inclusive business move or kulang pa?
Well, actually, it's a start, no? It's a starting parang kumbaga strategy. To shift from yung more standard na halimbawa more standard ways of promoting, mass promotion using social media, to actually tapping individual like talents, no, who can actually if they are tech savvy and they masipag sila, is magagawa nila yung nagagawa ng Facebook on an individual level, right? So ito yung it's a starting point. Ang lang sa inclusive businesses, yun at some point dapat yung whole business model is really aligned to this yung targeting ng BOP. So ito yung challenge dito sa mga kumpanya. Ito nga yung sinasabing challenge sa kanila, no? So dapat yung business model mo yung naka-align talagang dito to cater to these very specific income segments para maging inclusive business.
Okay, sige. Maraming salamat. O, di ba nakapag-consult pa ako sa'yo?
Anytime. I'm just, a chat or call away.
Correct. Sige. So maraming salamat, Grace. Sa susunod ulit, imbitahan ka namin sa iba pang mga topics dito sa Usapang Pera. So,
Thank you,
ingat!
Jen. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Kung may kapamilya, kaibigan o kakilala kang tingin mo ay magiging interesado dito sa video, please share to them or tag them in the comments section. Siyempre, kung nagustuhan mo ang video, pusuan mo na ito. Subscribe ka na rin. As always, feel free to write your questions, comments, and opinions respectfully.